الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله أفضل صلواتك عدد معلوماتك وملء معلوماتك وزنة معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا أحمد القاسم أمداد الخزائن الإلهية على أجداد الدوائر الملكية من لجة قاموس بحر جودك الأعظم الطامحة لشآبيب فضي الطابع المنكرات في عالم البطون والظهور. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم النافع. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وارزقنا كل خير. Today we continue our sessions. We now reached I think the fourth session, and we finished generally the introduction by the Imam, what the Muslim should do according for about guarding tongue, avoiding corruption, and we talked about purification as obligatory actions of purification of wudu and so on. And now we reached, after we talked yesterday about things which nullifies wudu, and we reached the ghusl, ritual showering or ritual purification showering. So ghusl, purification shower, or what we call generally ghusl, is required in three cases. Those three cases are janaba, menstruation, postnatal or postpartum bleeding. Janaba is major impurity, and janaba occurs in many situations. We'll discuss them accordingly, but let's us talk first about the ghusl. Ghusl is part of purification. So again, we use the water which is pure in itself, and it is also purifying of other. So clear water, odorless, tasteless, and colorless water, which is pure and also purifying of other human being. So, janaba, menstruation, postnatal or postpartum bleeding. However, the janaba major impurity is of two types, which is uh, which is uh, release of semen with usual pleasure during sleep or while awake through sexual intercourse or otherwise. So, the first condition which janaba occurs with is ejaculation or release of semen. So whether that is with sexual intercourse or without sexual intercourse. So for those who have that semen released during dreaming, which is called wet dreams, that male is having a janaba, and that janaba is requiring ghusl, ritual showering or ritual purification to remove that janaba, to remove that impurity. The other condition which janaba occurs with is disappearance of the head of the male organ in the female organs, uh, and that is sexual intercourse. So sexual intercourse is happening when the tip of the penis of the male is disappeared while being into the vagina or into the female organ. So again, the head of the penis or the tip of the penis, uh, if only that small part of the penis disappeared into the vagina of the wife, so now that male is having a janaba and that female is having a janaba, and both of them should have ghusl, should have purification to remove that impurity. Imam then talks about and whoever dreams of engaging in an intercourse and no semen is discharged from him, then there is nothing upon him. So he returned back to the first condition, release of semen, and he said that we said that release of semen, whether with an intercourse or another situation. The other situation mostly will be wet dreams, because as we know in Maliki Mazhab, masturbation is forbidden. Masturbation is a sinful act. So the only condition that the semen will be released is whether in an intercourse or in a dream. So for this case scenario, the Imam tells us that someone saw sexual content in his dream, but woke up to find no semen at all released. So he should not follow the doubt. He should go on and have normal wudu and don't have to do ghusl. So, and whoever finds dry semen in his garment and doesn't know when it occurred, he should perform ghusl and repeat the prayer from the last sleep he had while in that state. So, Amil woke up not seeing any dream at all, and he had his wudu and prayed Fajr and went to work and prayed Zohr. Then he noticed rough substance in his underwear, and he found that there is a dry semen in his underwear. So he should repeat all the prayers. He should firstly do ghusl, do the ritual showering or ritual bath. Then he should repeat all the prayers from his last sleeping. So again, that man, I will repeat the case scenario. A man woke up not dreaming of anything at all. He prayed Fajr, then prayed Zohr, then went to work, then prayed Zohr. And after coming home, he had a nap, a small 1 or 2 hour nap. Then he woke up, he prayed Asr, then prayed Maghrib. He woke up, had wudu, and then prayed Asr, then prayed Maghrib. And after praying Maghrib, he noticed dry semen in his underwear. He should pray, he should perform ghusl and then repeat the last prayers from the last sleeping. Then the last sleeping was the sleeping before Maghrib and Asr. So only those prayers should be repeated. Now we will talk about the obligatory actions of ghusl. Obligatory acts of ghusl are only four: intention, performing promptly, and rubbing and ensuring thoroughness. So again, in Shafi'i Mazhab, we agree upon three of them: intention, thoroughness, and promptness. So if a man went had ganaba, had impurity, and he went jumping into a pure in a tub full of water, and he was immersed in that water with intention of ghusl, and went out of there making all water reaching all his body parts. Yet he didn't rub at all. According to Shafi'i Mazhab, his ghusl is accepted. But according to Maliki Mazhab, you have to rub all your body parts. You have to rub your beard, your head, your hair, your ankle, your wrinkles, your belly button. Every part in your body should be rubbed and make water surely reaching that part to make your ghusl accepted and not nullified. So, sunans of ritual bathing, sunans of ritual showering or ghusl. Those are sunans, so those are not obligatory to do. Yet, if done, many good deeds should be gained. So, washing hands up to wrist before the initiation, just like wudu. Then rinsing the mouth, inhaling water in the nose, expelling water from the nose, washing the ear canal, which is the inner opening inside the head. As for the outer part of the ear, then it is necessary to wash both of the surface and of the inner part. So the first part of the sunans are all agreed with wudu: washing hands, rinsing mouth, inhaling water, expelling water. All that are sunans in wudu too. But for the ears, here he mentioned washing the ear canal, which is the inner opening, washing the outer ear, and washing its inner surface and outer surface. Here he is talking about washing the ear. Remember, in wudu, we said whipping the ear and not doing it twice and so, but here he is washing every inner wrinkle of the ear, outerly and innerly. So, going to fada'il, mustahabbat, things like to be done in ghusl, starting with washing away impurities, then washing the private parts, then making the intention at that point, then washing the body parts of wudu once. So, you remember while we discussed wudu, we mentioned that intention should be in the initiation of doing wudu, should be while entering the wudu process, the intention should be at that part exactly, not far away before it, not after starting the wudu. So here he mentioned that start with washing away impurities. So we had semen, we had for the female, the menstruation, we had blood, postpartum bleeding, or post delivery bleeding. Those that also blood is an impurity. So the first action should be starting with washing away the impurities, then washing the private parts. Mostly that impurities came out from those private parts. So those private parts should be cleaned thoroughly and deeply firstly before initiation of the wudu. And here is the part of the intention. He should make the intention at this point and not at any other point before that. Then washing the body parts of wudu, washing face, washing hands up to ankles, washing feet, washing head, and so on. So then washing the upper parts of the body and washing the head 3 times, and beginning with the right side of the body. We're using minimal water for washing. So, what is the amount of water that is minimal, that is considered minimal during ritual showering or bathing? The minimal water in Maliki Mazhab is the water enough to make the ghusl properly. So it is not 2 liters, it is not 5 liters, it is not 10 liters, it is not a certain amount. Every person has his own amount that is suitable for him and not suitable for the other person. The other parts, I think, doesn't need to be explained. They are clear enough to be understood. And whoever forgets a spot of or a body part in his ghusl, he should promptly wash it upon remembering, even if it is after a month, and repeat the prayers he performed before this. So, remember the man we talked about? The man who woke up with dry semen? That man, sadly, he woke up, had his wudu, prayed Fajr, then prayed Dhuhr, then discovered the dry semen in his underwear, so he went to do ghusl. And during having his ghusl, his showering, he forgot to wash his left hand or left arm, or to rub his left shoulder. And he went out of the bathroom and repeated Fajr and the Dhuhr, then went to pray Asr, then prayed Maghrib, then prayed Isha, then he went to sleep, then he woke up. And after waking up, he suddenly remembered that he forgot that body part. So in that case scenario, he should immediately wash that part, and it is recommended to repeat the whole ghusl again, since it was far away in our case scenario from the ghusl, and he should repeat all the prayers he prayed with that nullified ghusl, nullified purification. So he should, again, I will say what the Imam said: whoever forgets a spot of his body part on his ghusl, he should promptly wash it upon remembering, even if it is after a month, and repeat the prayers performed before this. And if he delays the washing of the missing part area after remembering it, his ghusl became invalid. However, if it pertains to the parts of wudu and considers the ghusl for wudu ablation, it suffices for him. So If the body part he forgot to wash during ghusl was his hand, if that part, which in our case scenario now is his hand, that part is cleaned or washed during wudu. So mostly during the new wudu, he will wash it, then his wudu, his ghusl is not nullified. So again, if that part that he forgot was a part that is not a part of the wudu organs, so he should wash it and repeat the prayers he has done with that ghusl. But if he had that part was one of the parts of the wudu organs and he washed it during the wudu, then it is okay to continue with that ghusl and that wudu. And now we will talk about what is the person who is having the janaba, the impurity that needs ghusl, that needs ritual bathing. That person is not allowed to do some stuff. The Imam will tell us them now. He is the first one is it is not permissible for someone in a state of janaba to enter the mosque. So now no entering the mosque, even if passing through it. So again, a person with a janaba cannot pass through the mosque, cannot enter the mosque, cannot pass through it, or to recite Quran, because we already يعني mentioned that earlier, that during the impurity state, without wudu, without purification, no one can touch the Quran. So, but we mentioned that he can read the Quran. So again, in the state of normal impurity that only needs wudu and not janaba, we allowed that Muslim to read Quran, but we said you can't touch the Mus'haf, you can't touch the Quran without having wudu. But in this case, in this janaba, we say you cannot even read the Quran, neither touch it at all, except for a verse or something similar for seeking refuge of Allah and similar things. So what are we going to say now is a case scenario again. A man is having a janaba, having an impurity, but he is going to repeat the intercourse with his wife. So he said, ربنا أتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Here he only said a verse of the Quran, but with the intention to seek refuge of Allah or say it as a prayer, not as a verse of the Quran itself. So it is accepted for him to do so. Yet some scholars in the Mazhab mention that it is disliked to do so. He continues and says, moreover, it is not allowed for someone who cannot access cold water to approach his spouse until he prepares the mean of purification, unless he experiences a wet dream, then there is nothing upon him. So, here the Imam teaches us something very important. A man should be in control of his state of purification. So, if I'm a person who is living in a very cold country, I'm living in Alaska during winter, and I don't have access to hot water. So, am I going to have ghusl after my intercourse? Mostly not, because I don't have hot water and I can't have shower with that cold ice water. So, I should not never have intercourse with my wife except if I'm preparing the mean that I can have my ghusl with. Because you control your desires, but your desire doesn't control you. So you are the only one who can have that state of impurity with intention during having intercourse or having something with your wife, but only if you are ready to remove that impurity. But if you don't are not ready to remove that impurity as soon as possible for praying and so on, so that is considered a sinful act. But the Imam is telling us if that person had a wet dream, that's something he can't control. So we can say that he committed something wrong. There is nothing upon him. He will not. He doesn't have to perform ritual bathing with the cold water and harm his health, because that was something that he didn't control, and he can wait until he can have the hot water. And now Imam tells us uh, a chapter on tayammum, dry ablution. And tayammum is something that Allah provided the Islamic people with, because other people in other religions, they didn't have access to such thing. One, in some religions, in some past religion, if an impurity touched his toe, he should cut that toe. But in Islam, alhamdulillah, we don't do that, and Allah didn't judge us to do that. He allowed us to have purification processes, and He allowed us to even have a dry way to have purification if we do not have access to water. Imam al-Akhdari says a traveler who is not engaged in wrongdoing may perform tayammum. And now Imam al-Akhdari again is telling us an opinion which is not agreed upon in the whole mazhab. The most agreed upon opinion in the mazhab that الرخص لا علاقة لها بالآثام. يعني when you are having something that Allah gives you as making things easier, it is not related to whether you are doing something wrongdoing or right doing. So the most يعني agreed upon opinion in the madhab, if someone even was traveling for wrongdoing and he lost the water and he want to pray and he is not purified, he can have tayammum, he can have dry ablution, even though he was traveling for wrongdoing. So a traveler who is not engaged in wrongdoing may perform tayammum, and we mentioned that that is not agreed upon in the Madhab. But it is good to mention that uh, even though the rule of the one who is traveling for wrongdoing is someone who is traveling for the wrongdoing, but not the one who is doing wrong during his travel. What is the difference? There is two case scenario. A man who is traveling to another country to commit adultery. He is a man who is traveling to another country to commit zina over there. So that man is traveling for wrongdoing. So according Imam al-Akhdari and according to Mazhab al-Shafi'i, he cannot have tayammum. He cannot also break his fast, because his fasting that is only allowed for someone who is traveling, not for wrongdoing. The other case scenario is someone who was traveling for business trip or something, and during that business trip, he committed adultery. He is not traveling for the wrongdoing, but he sadly committed wrongdoing during that traveling. So that person can break his fast. He can have tayammum, even according to this opinion in Shafi'i and Maliki Mazhab, because traveling for wrongdoing is different from committing a wrongdoing during your travel. Again, a traveler who is not engaged in wrongdoing may perform tayammum, as well as sick person, whether for an obligatory or voluntary prayer. A healthy resident may perform tayammum for obligatory prayers, and if he fears the time for the prayer will expire. What are those sentences? A sick person, whether for an obligatory or a voluntary prayer, can do tayammum. Tayammum generally for someone who is traveling is only accepted for obligatory prayer, because since you are traveling, you are not asked to do voluntary prayer. You are already having hardship in your traveling, and you are already making the 2 rak'ah and the and making praying Asr with Zuhr and praying Maghrib with Isha. So no one is asking you to do voluntary prayers. But for the sick person, he is not traveling, he is sick, but he want to perform obligatory prayers and want to perform voluntary prayer. So you tell him you can do whatever you want with that tayammum, not like the other one who is traveling. And healthy resident may perform tayammum for obligatory prayers if he feels time for the prayer will expire. Again, a case scenario, a person who is living in Cairo or living in Michigan or living in whatever city, and there had a water shortage in his town, and he doesn't have water for wudu. So Dhuhr Adhan starts, or Dhuhr time starts from 1 p.m. He is waiting for water to be found. He is waiting, he is waiting, he is waiting, he is waiting. And now Asr Azan or Asr time starts at 4 p.m. And it is now 3:30, only 30 minutes for Asr. Now, nearly, he fears that the time of prayers will expire. So he goes and have his tayammum and pray Dhuhr because he fears that the time of the prayer will expire. However, a healthy resident may not perform tayammum for a voluntary prayer, not Friday prayer or funeral prayer, unless the funeral prayer became as individual obligation upon him. So the general rule, tayammum for the healthy resident is only for obligatory prayers, not for any prayer that is not obligatory, and for any prayer that is not asked for يعني is not required for him by obligation from Allah. So if someone lost the water, he is not having water to have purification or for purification to pray. He is not asked to do tayammum to attend the Jum'ah. Jum'ah, the Friday prayer, is only required for someone who is having water, who is a resident, who is healthy, who is having many rules that we might discuss it later in this book. So he is not having tayammum for voluntary prayers. He is not having tayammum for Friday prayer. He is not having tayammum for funeral prayer unless it is obligatory for him to pray that funeral prayer, and that happens when there is no other person to pray on that funeral, and you are required to do so. So you can now have tayammum and do it. What is the obligatory acts of tayammum? And as we go on, we mention the sunan and the mustahabbat and parts of it. The obligatory acts of tayammum are intention, niyyah, using pure earth, and we will discuss pure earth later on. Whipping the face, whipping hands up to wrists, and the first strike on the ground, and promptness, and entering time and connecting it directly to prayer. So again, I'm having my intention to do tayammum. I strike the ground, the sa'id, the true earth ground. Then I whip my face and whip the hands up to wrists, all in without delay, and directly pray the prayer I'm required to pray after that. So again, for a case scenario to make it more clear, make it clearer, where so for again to make it clear, our friend who is having water shortage in Chicago, he doesn't have water to have wudu, so he can do tayammum before 1 p.m. to pray dhuhr. He can say, oh, the water will not come till 5 p.m. So anyway, I will do tayammum. So I do tayammum now. It is already before the time of dhuhr. Oh, the adhan came out. I will pray dhuhr. Tayammum should be after entering of the time of the prayer and should be directly connected to the prayer who is the tayammum was done for. So What is the pure sand or the pure earth that is used for doing this tayammum? Turab, which is sand, or to be clearer, dust. Tub, clay, stone, snow, silt, similar material. So, again, sand, clay, stone, snow, silt, and similar material. What is the connection between all those? Those are naturally occurring substance from the ground, the earth. So any part that is similar to those can be used as sa'id, as earth to be struck on, and having whipping your face and whipping your hands up to wrist. And it is not permissible to use baked clay, mats, woods, grass, similar substance. Again, what is the connection between all of those? Baked clay, it was processed clay, not regular clay coming from earth. Mats, it is something that was sown, was industrialized, and not naturally occurring. We don't have normal mats coming from the ground. Wood, yes, that's something naturally occurring in plants and not on earth, in trees. Grass, that's also not earth, that's something coming from earth as a natural, living creature, and similar substance. However, a sick person is permitted to use the wall made of stone or clay wall if he cannot find anyone else to provide him other than that. So, if a sick person that can't move, that can't have anything other than the wall, a stony wall beside him, we say you are allowed to do so, to have your tayammum for praying, and Allah accepts from you, inshallah. What is the sunans of tayammum? Maintaining order, renewing strike for whipping hands, and whipping what is between the wrists and elbows. So, again, intention niyyah, hitting the ground, the earth, then whipping the face, then striking again the earth, then whipping hands up to wrists, and then whipping up along the wrists to elbows. What is the mustahabbat acts? What is the fada'il? Saying Bismillah just like wudu, presenting the right side over the left side, just like wudu, prioritizing whipping the outer part of the arm before the inner part, and whipping the front of the arm before the back. What nullifies tayammum? يعني what is the nullifies of tayammum? Just like wudu. And two obligatory prayers cannot be performed with one tayammum. Yes, we mentioned that the tayammum done for a prayer should be directly connected to it, and the prayer for that tayammum should be directly following that tayammum. So I can't have a tayammum for a prayer, then pray with the same tayammum another prayer, because I should directly before the other prayer have a new tayammum for that prayer. And whoever performs tayammum for an obligatory prayer may then perform voluntary prayer afterwards, and touching the mushaf and performing tawaf and recitation if he intend to do so, and it is connected to the prayer, but provided that the time has not expired. And actually, this is a part that the Maliki Mazhab is greatly controversial about it, but we will stick to what Imam Akhdari is telling us. Whoever performs tayammum for an obligatory prayer may then perform voluntary prayers afterwards, touching the mushaf, perform tawaf and recitation if he intends to do so, and it is connected to a prayer, but provided the time has not expired. What he means by the time has not expired, because as soon as a new time started for a new prayer, he has to have a new tayammum for that new time, for that other prayer, and that tayammum should be directly connected to the prayer afterwards. Tayammum for voluntary prayer is allowed for all mentioned except for obligatory prayer, and whoever prays Isha with tayammum may stand for Shafa and Watr afterwards without a delay. Whoever performs tayammum due to major impurity must have the appropriate intention for it. So again, tayammum is usually done instead of wudu, but if you are having a janaba and you need to do tayammum for the same for removing of the janaba to or to have access to prayer, not to removing the janaba, should have the intention to remove that janaba with tayammum. And there was a hadith by one of the companions of the Prophet that he had janaba during traveling and didn't have water, so he took off all his clothes and he rolled down in the sand to do the tayammum. And after he told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about that, Prophet, may Allah have peace and prayers upon him, said, you only needed to do this and this, and he struck the ground and whipped his face, strike the ground, and with his hands to wrists and then to elbows, and that was enough. You don't have to cover your body with sand or dust. A chapter on menstruation. We are still talking about impurities. We're still talking about purification, and women are classified at a beginner, a regular, and a pregnant. The beginner one, she is a young female that doesn't know how long she stays during her menstruation cycle. Usually, the female during her young age, you ask her how long your period stays. She says 3 or 4 days, I don't know. How many pads do you use? How usually you stay between period and period? Usually, the beginner doesn't know her menstrual cycle and how many days during each cycle. A regular one, that's a middle-aged woman. She is in a great knowledge of how long her menstruation or her period is, and the pregnant one. One might ask, can the pregnant female has menstruation? And that's usually something that a doctor might laugh off. And no, a pregnant woman doesn't have menstruation. So a beginner, that's a female that has menstruation but doesn't know her exact time of menstruation and how long does it stay. And the regular one, that she is also menstruating and knows how long her period days are and when it will come and go. And the pregnant one that doesn't have menstruation at all. The maximum menstruation period for a beginner is 15 days, and for a regular woman, it is her usual period. So the beginner one started bleeding on 3rd of June and kept on bleeding. So we tell her, no, no, you don't fast, you don't pray, you don't fast, you don't pray, you don't fast, you don't do tawaf, you don't do tawaf. She keeps on a day after a day, a day after a day, a day after a day, a day after a day. On day number 18, on day 18th of June, she started on day 13. Now she is bleeding for 15 days. So we tell her after those 15 days, this is not menstruation at all. That's now a bleeding. And bleeding does not allow you to not have praying or uh, tawaf or having breaking your fast and so on. Now you should fast, you should pray, and you can do tawaf. And what should she do with that impure blood? She should wash it. She can repeat ghusl if she wants, but she is now a woman that is not menstruating after her 15 days. For the other woman, the other type, the regular woman, the one who knows how long her period is, it is the usual period of her period. So a female is usually having a period for 6 days, had her period at 3rd of June, 4th of June, 5th of June, go on, so on, so on, and 9th of June. she is still having her menstruation, and now on 11th of June she is still having bleeding. That is not menstruation now, that is a bleeding, and that bleeding is not accepted as menstruation. So the Imam tells us more details on how to calculate it. She should be sorry. Uh, However, if the bleeding continues beyond her usual period, she may extend it by 3 days, provided she doesn't exceed 15 days. In that case, sorry, as for and that after that she is not a menstruating woman again. So the other woman we mentioned, the one she is having a usual period for 9 days. On day 10, she is still bleeding, okay. On day 11, she is still bleeding, okay. On day 12, she is still bleeding. That's also menstruation. On day 14, now she is not. On day 13, that's not a menstruation after all. That's now bleeding, and she is allowed to do prayer and fast and do tawaf and so on. So as for a pregnant woman, after her 3 months, the maximum duration of her blood flow is 15 days, and after 6 months, the duration of her blood flow extends to 20 days or similar. But if the bleeding stops, she should count the delay until she completes her usual cycle. And to be honest, the menstruation for the pregnant woman is something very debatable medically, and also fuqaha, because we know that there is no menstruation that occur with a pregnant female. So usually that's bleeding and not menstruation, and she is allowed to do the actions and so on. So what is not permissible for a menstruating woman? She is not allowed to pray, to fast, to perform tawaf, to touch mushaf, nor entering the mosque, and it is must on her to make up for the fasting, but not for the prayer. So the woman who was having her period during the Ramadan days, if she was having menstruation for the full 15 days during Ramadan, she will repeat the fasting of the 15 days. I will not repeat the prayers for the 15 days. And her recitation of the Quran is permissible. However, her private isn't permissible for her husband, or touch her between her navel and knees until she perform ghusl. So again, that woman is not allowed to pray, nor fast, nor perform tawaf, nor to touch mushaf, nor entering mosque, and it is must have, and it is a must on her to make up for the fasting, but not for the prayer. And her recitation of the Quran is permissible. However, her private isn't permissible for her husband, or touch her between her navel and knees until she performs ghusl. We continue this part. On postpartum bleeding is similar to menstruation in terms of prohibitions. So she can't pray, tawaf, and so on. So, and its maximum duration is 60 days. But if the bleeding stops before this period, even on the day of the childbirth, she should perform the ritual purification and pray. However, if the bleeding returns, and if there is a gap of 15 days or more between the two occurrences, then the second bleeding is considered menstruation. Otherwise, it is added to the first instances, and it is considered completion of the postpartum period. And that, and now we end the part of purification and its parts in its chapters, and we will start a new book, a new chapter about prayer times, praying generally. And after that, we will end with Imam al-Akhdarī telling us a detailed part about Sujud al-Sahw, which is Sujud of forgetting or remembrances, uh, and we will end the book with that. Firstly, do you have any question in the part we discussed today or in the other past sessions?
Yes,
What is it?
yes, I do have. I have one question.
What is it?
When you was talking about, are you listening?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. When you was talking about the ghusl, and you was talking about at the time that a person should make their intentions. You said that they should make intentions after they wash private areas before they start the wudu. Is that what you said?
Yes, I mentioned that the best part to have the intention is after the removing of the impurities. According to Imam al-Akhdari, he is telling us that the best part, the best moment to do
Time.
first best point to do the ghusl is the point after washing the impurities.
Right.
You are just doing washing.
Tamam.
But after removing the impurities, you
Tamam.
are now committing the ritual purification of your body by water and rubbing and so on. So what we mentioned here.
Tamam. فهمت عليك.
Alhamdulillah. Are you ready to start this chapter?
تمام أكمل.
Okay, Bismillah. Chapter on prayer times. It is brief. We are now talking about the prayer times. How many prayers we have? 5 prayers. Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. The Imam starts with the preferred time of Dhuhr for noon prayer is from the decline of the sun until the end of the shadow length. So now I will have an assistant with this stick. So now we are having a stick on the ground. This stick of the ground is used to measure the shadow. Again, from the decline of the sun until the end of the shadow length. So when the sun comes up here from the east, comes up to reach the highest point high in the sky, 90 degrees, there is no shadow at all. At this point, after this second, she will start into decline downward. So, after this point, the shadow will start from the other side. So, again, I will draw it more clearly down there. Again, that the stick. The sun is coming here in this direction. So, the shadow comes to the other side. So the shadow will keep declining in length until the shadow will keep getting longer and the sun will keep declining. The time for Dhuhr is the time from the start of the decline till the end of the shadow length, when the shadow length is nearly on the same length as the original stick. Is it clear?
Yes, at the time of Dhuhr, you're saying that the shadow will be the same size of the object in which that is casting the shadow.
Yes.
Tamam.
Okay. The preferred time of Asr afternoon prayer from the shadow length until the yellowing of the sun, and their necessary time extends until sunset. And now we will talk about something very important in Maliki Mazhab, and it is not present in any other madhab other than Maliki Mazhab. We have 2 times for each prayer. There is the preferred time, al-Waqt al-Mukhtar, and there is the necessary time, al-Waqt al-Daruri. We divide the prayers into 3 parts: the before sunset, the after sunset, and the Fajr prayer. So, the before sunset, Dhuhr and Asr. The before sunset, Dhuhr and Asr. For Dhuhr, there is a preferred time, preferred time. It is the best time, the obligatory time, the preferred time. That time is what we discussed, the time between the decline and the length of the shadow, the time from the start of the time till the start of the time of Asr. What about its Daruri time? It is necessary time. That time starts from Asr time till just before sunset with enough time to pray Asr. So why is that, and what can how can that help us in life? You cannot you cannot pray the prayer in its necessary part unless there is something necessary enough that made you do so. How can that? So I'm a surgeon and I'm having a life-saving surgery, and Asr prayer is coming. I started before Zuhr prayer and the surgery is going on and I can't stop it. And Asr prayer is coming and the time for Dhuhr, the Mukhtar time, the preferred time for Dhuhr will expire. So I still can pray Dhuhr, but in its necessary time without committing a sin because I only delayed it necessarily and I'm not committing a sin, I'm not committing a bad deed. I will pray it in its necessary time, and its necessary time is from the start of Asr till the time just before sunset. What about Asr? Asr has also preferred time and necessary time. The preferred time starts from shadow length until yellowing of the sun. So just from the end of the time of Dhuhr and just before the sunset, when the sun becomes yellow. And now starting from that yellowing color to the true sunset, that's the necessary part for Asr. You can only delay Asr till that time if there is something necessitating for that. And during this time, it is not a necessary part for Dhuhr, it is only for Asr. Uh, and Imam Akhdari said, and their necessary time extends until sunset, but not for both of them. The Dhuhr just before the yellowing and Asr after the yellowing. Is that clear, or you want me to explain it again?
Uh, Let me see. You're saying that for Dhuhr time, the necessity time, the daruri time, is just before the yellowing of the sky, before sunset, right?
That's the end of it. And when does it start?
It starts at the time when the sun is at its zenith.
It starts, yani we can say that it starts with the start of,
When the shadow is equal to the object.
yes, which is the time of which is the preferable time for Asr.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Tamam. So, and the preferred time for Maghrib is the duration required to perform a prayer after fulfilling its condition. So, in Maliki Mazhab, it is nearly only 40 minutes after the adhan of Maghrib is the time which is preferred, which is the preferred time for Maghrib. So again, in Maliki Mazhab, we believe that the time of Maghrib, the preferred time of Maghrib, is only nearly 40 minutes after the Adhan, which is the required time to perform the prayer after fulfilling its condition. What does he means by that? Which is performing the prayer after having ghusl and wudu and all the condition required for that. So it is nearly only 40 minutes. And the preferred time for Isha, the night prayer, is from the disappearance of the twilight until the first third of the night. And their necessary time extends until dawn, until Fajr, until morning prayer. So, what about Fajr? Its preferred time is from the dawn until the highest brightness, and it is necessary time until it extends until sunrise, and making up missed prayers applies to all times beyond these. So, if you had a prayer that you didn't pray during its preferred time, or even there it's a necessary time, now that's a missed prayer that you have wasted its time, and that's a sinful act that you should not be doing. Okay.
تمام.
Alhamdulillah. And whoever delays prayers until its time has passed, then he bears upon himself a grave sin, unless he was forgetful or sleeping. So the one who was forgetting or sleeping is not committing a sin, but he should pray as soon as he remembers or wakes up. No voluntary prayer should be performed after Fajr prayer until the sunrise, and after Asr prayer until Maghrib prayer, and after the dawn has risen, except for someone who missed it, and while the Friday Imam is seated on the pulpit, and after Friday prayer until leaving the mosque. So again, the Imam al-Akhdarī is telling us the time which is prohibited to pray voluntary prayers in. Those times are after Fajr until the sunrise, and after Asr prayer until Maghrib, and after the dawn has risen, and while Friday Imam and while the Friday Imam is seated on the pulpit, and after Friday prayer until leaving the mosque. We differ from other madhahib in that, because you didn't see a mention of the time before Dhuhr. In other madhahib, in other doctrine, they mentioned that it is also not recommended to pray at that time, but in Maliki Mazhab, we don't have that time. We only have the time after Asr till Maghrib, and after Fajr till sunrise, and after the dawn had risen, and while Friday Imam is seated on the pulpit, and after Friday prayer until leaving the mosque. So one might ask, what about saluting the mosque prayer, the 2 rak'ahs? We say no. When the Imam is on the pulpit giving the khutbah of the Jum'ah, you don't pray, you sit and listen to the Imam. One might say, what about voluntary prayers after Jum'ah? Pray it at your home. You don't pray it in the mosque. We believe that voluntary prayers are in the mosque, not in your home, and not in the mosque. He mentioned also in that sentence, except for some fixed nafila or further prayer for someone who missed it. So uh, the times we mentioned, the time which is not, no voluntary act is accepted upon. If someone missed a certain farida, a certain obligatory prayer, he can pray it in that time. Chapter on the conditions of the prayer, and I don't know, are you ready to continue, or you like to complete tomorrow, inshallah? Do you
Yeah,
prefer?
we're going to go over the chapter of the prayer. That's a little bit extensive, isn't it?
Yes, we still have.
It's rather detailed.
Yes, we have many parts. We still have. We have the conditions of the prayers, obligatory acts of the prayers, some of the benefits of the prayer, and many details about the prayer. We will keep on talking about the prayer. There is no other things that we will discuss in this book. We will only discuss praying. There is no mention of Hajj, Umrah, Zakah, or other obligatory acts on Muslim.
Right, but in the prayer we will discuss sujudu sahu and everything, right?
Yes, the full book, inshallah.
Yeah, come on. What I'm saying is that because it's a lot of details, we can start fresh with that tomorrow.
Okay, inshallah. I agree about that.
Fahim?
So we just finished for now at this point, and we ask Allah
Fahim?
for mercy. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammadin al-Nabiy al-Ummi wa ala alihi afdal salawatika adada ma'lumatika wa mil'a ma'lumatika wa zinata ma'lumatika wa midada kalimatik. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم النافع. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. الذهاب. والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وآله وصحبه من والاه، والحمد لله ختاما وابتدا، والصلاة والسلام على نبي الله سرمدا وآله وصحبه أبدا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.